Today I'm making a video showing you how to install a brake vacuum pump delete on a 2012 Volkswagen 2.5 liter. This one's an automatic trans, so it's a little bit more tricky, but it's still not that bad of a job. The kit I bought is through USP Motorsports. It's called the Spolin Ultimate 2.5 brake vacuum pump delete kit. I've installed this one before. It's pretty nice stuff. Here's the kit. Just this hose here, nice silicone hose. The smaller one. This is the plate that goes on the back of the cylinder head that actually goes where the pump is. And what it does is it gets rid of the mechanical pump that leaks everywhere, and it just goes to a more conventional kind of, just runs vacuum from the intake manifold. This is the pump. You can see it's dumping oil everywhere. Goes to a more conventional style where it just runs intake vacuum to your brake booster. So first thing you want to do is, I already did this, just move this clamp out of the way. Take the top off this little top off the top of this, and pull your whole air filter housing out. This one somebody already has kind of busted up a little bit, but you just want to carefully pull up on it. You may even get just keep even pressure on it like this until it releases. Don't go crazy and break it like this, and then pull this right out of the way. Once that's out of the way, release these two quick connect, this one and then this one down here, and then pull this whole air boot off the throttle. That out of the way, you're going to want to pull this 13 millimeter, use a 13 millimeter socket and pull this nut off here, and then you can lift up on this arm a 10 millimeter socket to release this screw. And there's one right there too, you're not seeing real good right now, and that one. And yeah, once this nut's off, you can pry up on this lever, and underneath it will be a larger nut that you can pretty much release with a pair of pliers. They're never tight because they're supposed to be a very, very low torque nut, and there's a little washer underneath it. So pull this up, pull the larger nut off that underneath this lever. Once you pull this lever straight up, and then take these bolts off, and then you're able to lift the whole selector range switch out of the way. These are slotted, but what you can see is normally it's so disgusting in here that it kind of marks its own position pretty well. When you pull those bolts off, you'll be able to see exactly where they were. I've noticed that on these, because even when they're not gross, it still leaves a pretty good impression. So just pull that off. You can unplug it, or you can leave it plugged in. There's enough slack there where you can move it out of the way pretty well anyways. And then that allows you to get better access to the pump. So with the range selector switch out, you still can't remove this pump as an assembly the way it was intended to be worked on with the transmission in place. It just bumps up against the shaft that the selector goes onto, so you have to pull the cover off this using a T25 to get these these 4 bolts off on the cover right here. Those 4 bolts, T25s, get those off so that you can start to kind of pull the pump apart a little bit and pull the vane out of it, and then you're able to sneak it out a little bit better. So I'm going to pull the range switch off, and then I'm going to pull this cover off. With that cover removed off the pump and that whole thing flopped up out of the way like that, you're able to reach in here and just grab this vane right out. If it bumps up against the lever just the way it's all positioned, like this is right now for me, it's not really a big deal. You can either turn the engine over, or you can just wait until this whole pump is loose, like you're going to be doing in the next step anyways, and then you can rotate it in such a way where it falls right out. So the next thing you're going to need is a T30 with a small extension, and I'm just going to use this one here. I like these little tiny 1/4-inch drive ones. And then you're going to want to get to the mounting bolts for this whole pump. So there's 3 of them. If you can't, I'm not going to be able to show you very well where they're at, but if you look at the bracket that you're going to be installing to blank it out, this will kind of help you locate where the bolts are. So those 3 that you're going to use a T30 for, and then just this one 10 millimeter bolt right above it, you're going to take that off too. That holds it to this. It holds that pipe to the bracket that attaches. So undo that, those other 3, and then this whole pump will be loose. So yeah, short extension, do it all from the top. I'm gonna get those bolts off now. With those bolts all off, you should be able to get a little little screwdriver or pry bar and pry this line right off the back of it. Sometimes you can even just grab it with your hands. The one that goes directly to the pump there. That line. Just pull it away from the pump, and then the whole pump is loose. So the move you're gonna wanna do is, like I was saying, you have to try to get in here and remove this vane first. Right here, this little plastic piece. Once the whole pump is pulled away from the engine, you're able to grab it a little bit easier. And then you take the whole pump and you pretty much rock it so that the center of that goes onto that shaft, and then you can pull it straight up. So you're gonna wanna pull it so it goes, the selector shaft literally goes inside of the pump, and then rotate it upwards to get it out of here. So you kinda need both hands to fight this thing out, but it's not that bad. So you just pull it, tilt it towards the shaft so that shaft is going inside of the pump, and then wiggle it out from there once that hose is pulled off the back. So not that bad of a move. You're gonna have to wiggle around with it a little bit. If you're having a lot of trouble with it, removing this coolant line does make it a little bit easier, or these two coolant hoses. I'm not gonna do that. I can get that out of there without too much trouble like this, but yeah, that's it. So now I'm gonna get that pump out. All right, with that out of the way, what you're gonna wanna do now is wipe down that sealing surface the best you can after the pump is off, the gasket's out. Wipe that down till the sealing surface is nice and clean like this. You just don't want any, big balls of dirt and crap attached to it. You just want it to look like this, nice clean aluminum. And you want to bolt your bracket onto it now. What's nice about this little blanking plate is it just has a rubber O-ring with a groove built into it. So all you have to do is pretty much just use the provided screws, attach that, and that gives you, after you have that on there, it's a good opportunity to clean this all off, because it's pretty gross if you had one of these leaking for a while. So don't use anything too harsh, because this seal for the selector is just rubber, and you can damage that if you use any really harsh solvents. So try to, if you're gonna use something like brake clean, get an air hose and blow it off right afterwards so it doesn't just sit there and soften up the rubber. And yeah, clean this off the best you can once the engine is sealed up. I like to do it at this point rather than beforehand. I mean, doing it before obviously is a good choice too, but it's you can't get under the range switch very well, and that's where the oil tends to really pile up. So this is also a good opportunity to clean your throttle plate. These throttle plates cause the map sensor faults, super common, and it's pretty easy to, while you're in here, to just wipe that thing all down or pull it off and clean it on the bench. But yeah, so I'm gonna bolt that plate on with the 3 screws provided, and clean this all up a little bit, make it look nicer. Cleaned up a little bit down there. You can kind of see it doesn't look too bad. You put that bracket back in place like it was right there, and then even put that little bolt up top to hold that line, so everything is kind of looks more right. And fits pretty well. You may have to tap it a little bit to get it to seat fully, because it does go into the hole, the cutout where the pump was, pretty well. But yeah, not bad all in all. And then this hose here that goes to your breather valve is going to be replaced with this. So this is what provides vacuum, and then it's regulated at this diaphragm to your crankcase. So you're just tapping into that, and it's giving you this opening here. So pretty much pull your throttle off so you have better access. Just these 4. Use a T30 just to get those. You don't even have to fully remove it. You can just take it and kind of wiggle it out of the way. If you want to clean it really well, there's your chance. Pull it off altogether and clean it on the bench. And then you can get to this fitting here. It's the regular kind of style ones they use on secondary air pipes. You just use a little pick or something like that if you can't just squeeze it and pull it off with your fingers. Same as this style. So you're gonna pull this off, pull that off, undo these clips here, with the throttle out of the way, and then just remove this whole hard plastic line and replace it with this. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like. All right, I pulled that hard line off. So undid the clips, like I said, the quick connect. And now just positioning the new one with the clamps that are provided in the kit the best I can. This was kind of, obviously this is an afterthought, so it wasn't designed with the quick connects like the factory intended, as far as the attachment points go. These work fine. It's a pretty aggressive barb. Just make sure when you're positioning the clamps on this, obviously this is super important, this is your brake assist, so you have to be careful. Make sure you position your clamps so that they're like this, that they're on the inside of the barb. Don't put them over here or anything crazy. Just make sure they're nice and even, close to the, on the other side of the barb, and tightened by hand nicely. You don't want to strip out the clamps, over tightening them. Just make sure that they're nice and tight. You can see there's a little bit of a clearance issue here. It's not going to cause a problem. It's a very, very thick silicone hose, but I'm going to tighten that back up, tighten this up, and then reposition the throttle body. Pay attention to the orientation of this clamp. I haven't tightened it yet, so that it does clear the throttle body. You may have to take it and swing it down and check, make sure everything is good, but yeah. So I'm gonna tighten that up and then show you what to do next. All right, well, with that in place and it plugged back in, this is all tight. I clean this throttle body off. This hose is positioned about as good as it's gonna get. It's not incredible or anything, but it'll work. It'll be fine. I had the kit very similar to this on my car, and I think I put 60 or 70,000 miles on it, and I never had a problem. Even the brake feel is great, feels normal. What you have to do now is, with these things here, these 3 clamps and this little aluminum barb, it goes into this hole on this hose here, and this is what provides vacuum to your booster. So this is a hard line that's not really designed to be serviced, but they frequently split anyways. You can see it kind of rotating right here when I twist on it. You're going to want to try to carefully pull that off of the barb without breaking that check valve. So if you have a razor blade, scoring it, just running it down, scoring it, over and over until it weakens it enough where it kind of breaks off is a pretty good way to go about it. If you're not having any luck with that, you can, remove the whole thing. Just get a little pry bar in here, pull this vacuum line off. This is rubber. These come off not that bad. And then you can do it all on the bench. But I'm gonna do is take a utility knife and just very carefully score this until I weaken it enough to pull it off, and then that'll expose a plastic barb here. The plastic barb is what this hose here will go onto. Route it the best you can underneath this airflow sensor here, and then run it to this with the provided clamps and barb. You need one on each side of the barb and then one there, so 3. So I'm gonna start working on that now. When you're done, it should look something like this. I just 2 clamps on that, on the barb, ran it down there. It's pretty well out of the way. Back there, again, the only thing I can really think of how you could make this not a safe install would be over tightening the clamps until they failed. Just tighten those by hand, don't use power tools. And that's it. The rest is pretty easy. Just kind of put things back the way you found them. Put the range switch back into place. Just flop that thing back down. When you're tightening it, as you can see on this, that's still dirty. The witness marks, line those up real well. There's quite a bit of adjustment there, and you'll have a problem with your selector if you don't have those. If you don't hit those right on those on the clean mark there. So if you do that, put everything back the way it was, you should be good to go. So thanks for watching.